Indiana Fever 86, Phoenix Mercury 77. The Fever win. The 2-game loss streak is over. But Fever Nation, the score is almost the least interesting thing about what happened last night. Because this game had everything. A historically bad first quarter that had fans wondering if this team even showed up. Caitlin Clark going into a rescue mode and almost single-handedly dragging this team back into the game. A fourth quarter that descended into pure chaos involving a former Fever player, her fiancé, and an ejection. And Clark getting her 5th technical foul of the season for clapping. I'm MaddyG. Welcome back to Clarrkin Off Time, and today we're getting into all of it. Let's go. Indiana Fever 86, Phoenix Mercury 77 final. But let me walk you through how this game actually looked, because the final score hides a story that needs to be told. First quarter, the Indiana Fever scored 6 points, 6, against the Phoenix Mercury, who are 5-13 and the 14th best team in this league out of 15. Indiana scored 6 points in an entire quarter against one of the worst teams in the WNBA, and according to CBS Sports, that is tied for the fewest points Indiana has scored in any quarter since 2018, and the fewest they have scored in a first quarter since 2016. The only basket Indiana made in that entire first quarter was a Kelsey Mitchell three-pointer with 1.7 seconds remaining. Phoenix led 19-6. The crowd was stunned. Here is where MaddyG has to be direct about something. When your team scores 6 points in a first quarter against a 5-13 opponent, that is not bad luck. That is your offensive system completely failing to generate anything. Those are plays that got called that produced absolutely nothing. And that needs to be said plainly. But then the second quarter happened and Caitlin Clark happened. Clark scored 15 points in the second quarter alone. Indiana went on a tear, outscoring Phoenix 35-22 in the second quarter alone, from down 13 to tied at 41, all at halftime. That is one of the most dramatic single quarter turnarounds this team has had all season, and the Indiana Fever outscored Phoenix 30-11 in the third quarter, one of their best defensive quarters of the year, to build a lead that reached as high as 21 points. Indiana Fever 86 and Phoenix Mercury 77, done. Here's the conversation that the WNBA world is having this morning, and MaddyG is going to weigh in on it directly. There are people watching that first quarter saying Clark went rogue, that she stopped running the plays White was drawing up because they weren't producing anything, and started operating off her own instincts. And honestly, based on what the numbers show, that argument has some real merit. 6 points in one quarter against Phoenix? Those plays, whatever they were not working. And when a team is generating absolutely nothing offensively, a point guard with Clark's basketball IQ is going to start reading the game differently. She's going to start making decisions on the fly. She's going to start finding her own shots and her own angles. And in the second quarter, that is exactly what happened. 15 points, 35 points as a team. Game turned around. Now, here's the part MaddyG wants to give Stephanie White credit for, because I have been critical of her, and I want to be fair when she gets it right. White did not go crazy with rotations last night. She saw what was working. She kept Caitlin Clark on the floor and let her run. She rode the hot hand through the second quarter comeback and into the third quarter explosion. And the game plan for those 2 quarters, it worked. Indiana went from down 13 to up 21. Here is where I land. When Clark is given the freedom to make decisions and play her natural game, this team is elite. When she is being restricted to sets that don't fit her strengths, we get 6 points. We get 6-point first quarters. That's what we get. White showed last night that she can make the right call in real time. The question is why it takes a historically bad quarter to unlock it, instead of it being the starting point of every single game. Now, let me tell you about the fourth quarter, because this is where this game became something nobody expected. With Indiana leading 73-54 and just under 8 minutes left, Clark and Phoenix forward DeWanna Bonner got tangled up in the paint. Clark was called for a personal foul, her 4th of the night, but the whistle did not end anything. Clark and Bonner exchanged words. Bonner attempted to walk away. Clark briefly followed her before a referee stepped in between them. And then things escalated at once. Phoenix forward Alyssa Thomas got involved in a confrontation with Indiana's Myisha Hines-Allen, and the two had to be separated by officials and team personnel. Then another altercation broke out, this time between Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner, after Sophie Cunningham pointed her finger at Bonner and Bonner pointed right back. 2 more confrontations, 2 more pairs of people that had to be physically separated. When the technical fouls got sorted out, Cunningham and Bonner received offsetting technicals, Thomas and Hines-Allen received offsetting technicals, and Clark was hit with a technical foul for, wait for it, clapping. 5 technical fouls assessed in a single sequence, but it wasn't over. On the very next possession, Hines-Allen committed a personal foul against Thomas. And then, after the play, MHA shoved Thomas, 2nd technical foul of the night, automatic ejection. Myisha Hines-Allen was thrown out of the game. Now, here's the part of the story that most people watching at home may not know. And this is why the confrontation was so personal. DeWanna Bonner used to be an Indiana Fever player. She signed a 1-year contract with the Fever in 2025, played 9 games, 3 starts, and was then waived. The official statement said that the fit did not work out. She went on to sign with Phoenix Mercury. She helped them reach the 2025 WNBA Finals and then walked back into Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night as the opponent. The crowd booed her when she hit a third quarter 3-pointer, and the player who got in Clark's face the most, former Fever, the player who jumped in to defend Bonner immediately, Alyssa Thomas, DeWanna Bonner's fiance. MaddyG wants to take a moment here because this context completely changes the temperature of the situation. This was not random on-court competitiveness. This was a woman walking back into a building where she waved, where things apparently did not end well, and all the history of that moment was right there on the surface the whole game. When Clark and Bonner tangled, that was not just a basketball play. That was every bit of that unresolved history coming out at once. Clark now has 5 technical fouls this season. 5. After last night, she is now 3 away from an automatic 1-game suspension, and she said exactly what she thought about the one she got last night. Clark said, and I quote, "It's ridiculous. I got a technical for clapping. So we should all just go on the calendar now and pick a game that I'm going to be suspended for if I'm getting if I'm going to get technicals for clapping. And she's right. A technical foul for clapping is indefensible. Here's where MaddyG's honest take on the broader technical foul situation. Some of Clark's technicals this season have been legitimate. She has shown visible frustration, fouled officials, and let her competitive emotions boil over in moments that warranted a response. MaddyG has said that on this channel before, and I stand by it. But a technical foul for clapping is not officiating. That is not maintaining order on a basketball court. That is a referee deciding that Caitlin Clark's clap looked too aggressive in a moment when emotions were already running high. And here's the part that needs to be said. This is now the second time this season where Clark has publicly questioned a technical foul call. Her quote after the game, "If any technical should be taken away, it should be that one," is not a player making excuses. That is a player calling out what she believes is inconsistent officiating. And based on what was described last night, she has a very legitimate point. White said post-game, quote, "As a group, we have to be able to have our moment and then regroup and play with poise and composure. It can't continue to go on." And White is right about that too. 5 technical fouls and an ejection in a single game, even against a team you are beating by 19 points, it's not a good look. This team needs to be able to close out games without a referee-driven disaster in the fourth quarter. They know how to win. They need to prove they know how to close. Before we close this out, let me give you the full stat lines because there were real individual performances worth celebrating last night. Caitlin Clark, 24 points, 8 of 17 from the field, 9 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 turnovers, and according to CBS Sports, Clark now has the most consecutive games with 20 points and 5 assists in WNBA history. 6 straight games. Let me say that again. 6 consecutive 20-point, 5-assist games is the longest streak in the history of this league, ever. Despite everything that happened in the fourth quarter, despite the technical foul for clapping, despite the 6-point first quarter, Clark is quietly doing things that have never been done in 30 years of WNBA basketball. Kelsey Mitchell, 22 points on 8 of 20 shooting, solid. 9 of those came in the third quarter when Indiana was pulling away. And then there is Monique Billings, who deserves her own moment right here. 14 points, 4 of 4 from the field, 100%, 10 rebounds, including 6 offensive rebounds, a full double-double, plus 15 on the night, the best plus-minus on the team. Billings has been one of the most quietly productive players on this roster for weeks, and last night she was dominant on the glass. 6 offensive rebounds means 6 possessions. Indiana should have not had that. They got back because of Billings. That is a game-changing effort. Indiana is now 10-7, still third in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta leads the East at 12-4. New York is second at 11-6. Indiana needs to keep winning and keep the gap close heading into the second half of the season. Wednesday, June 24th, the Indiana Fever hosts the Phoenix Mercury again, back-to-back against the same opponent, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 a.m. BST for our UK Fever Nation. Indiana is a heavy favorite at 75.8%. Phoenix comes in at 24.2%. But here is what I want Fever Nation to watch for on Wednesday. After what happened in the fourth quarter last night, the technicals, the ejection, the physical altercations, there is going to be energy in that building from the very first possession DeWanna Bonner will be back. Alyssa Thomas will be back. And this Fever team is going to need to come out with their composure fully intact if they want to handle their business cleanly. Let's take a trip around the league. Monday, June 22nd. Not a lot of other games to cover that night, since the Fever game was the marquee matchup of the evening. But I want to mention the Minnesota Lynx. They remain the best team in basketball at 13-4, and they are not showing any signs of slowing down. The Lynx are built for a championship run, and I am still not hearing enough people say that loud enough. 6 points in a first quarter, 15 points from Clark in the second, an ejection, 5 technicals, a former Fever player starting chaos in the fourth, a WNBA history-making performance hidden inside all of it, and a rematch Wednesday. Fever Nation, this league never lets you breathe, and I would not have it any other way. Today's question: Clark got a technical for clapping last night, her 5th of the season. 3 more and she misses a game. Was the ref right to call it, or is this officiating getting out of control? Right to call it or ridiculous? Drop it in the comments right now. I am reading every single one. Do not forget Wednesday night, same time, same team, same Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The rematch is coming. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you Thursday morning. This has been Clarrkin Off Time. Stay spicy.